So what is up, people? This side Karan Sharma. Welcome to Sharma Ji Ka Beta. And today it's a day 8 of our DevOps 90 days challenge. And today what we are going to learn is in Linux, we are going to learn about the user administration, right? The basic commands that we have already completed. You can check out the previous videos for that. I have shared each and every video uh, from the very beginning, and I'll make it to the very end, okay, from the scratch to the end. And let me share you my screen, guys. Let's start our VMware workstation. But first, let me tell you about what is AAA basically means, right? A, A, and again an A. All right. So first A means, second A means, and the third A means what? Authorization. All right. Second A, sorry if I'm doing mistake in any spelling. Authentication. Authentication. And the third A means auditing. So user administration is all about managing these three, you know, these three arenas, right? Like in Linux, we log in as a root user, right? Root means the super user. I have told it earlier in the earlier videos also that, when you, it happens with, many of the apps, software, when you use, right? When you use your computer, there's a proper user for that, okay, who can access anything in your particular computer, okay. And you can create another user for any other type of work, and maybe that user cannot have all the access permissions, right? So in that way, Linux is also defined in authorization, authentication, and auditing. Now user administration is all about managing the users, right? When you create, when you work in a particular organization, so you have different sort of, people who are working for your organization. Maybe they're in IT, there could be some operation related people where they would be there. Maybe there could be some, you can say, testing related people. So all, do you think that, the organization wants to provide each and every access to each and every other person, whether it is necessary or not? If it is not necessary, then why the organization will provide, right? And it will restrict their work in that way where they can use their system according to their, job roles in the optimal, to get the optimal output from it, right? And there could be, by creating, separating the users, there would be less chances of, you can say, confusion. And there would be a proper track of everything that, the super user can have, right? The super user that has all the authorities, super user has all the authorities to, you know create another user, and give permission to that user, you know what sort of task he can perform, he or she can perform, that particular user. And we can create groups, and according to, we can create groups, and according to that group, we can define the particular permission for the individual group. So that all the authority that has, that the super user has, right? So here this super user creates this, you know multiple users, right? In this way, you can say, he can create, he has all the authority, he can do anything whatever he wants in his system, right, in Linux. But the other users may not have the all the authorities, right? So now what is AAA? AAA is the further bifurcation, or you can say classification of user administration. So first, that comes in AAA is the authorization part, right? So authorization means to access, to get the access of something, right? If you want to use your Facebook, if you want to use your WhatsApp or something like that, right? You would be needing an access to it. Maybe it will ask for your mobile number, then it will ask for the OTP. And in Facebook, you need to create the particular password to access yourself as a user, another individual user, right? So authorization means to get access of something, right? And how to get access, right? How we can create user, different users, how what are the IDs. ID means unique, UID means unique ID that has been assigned in a numerical form way to each and every user, okay, that who is using the our system, that the UID is being assigned to each and every other user, right? And the authentication comes in the play when it comes to give the permissions, what kind of permissions you want to give to a particular user, right? And auditing means to get a proper logs, to get a proper check, which user has logged in a particular moment, in a particular time zone, and when he logged out, for how much time he worked for a for the in the system, right? All these kind of things comes into auditing. So I hope these things are clear to you all. And first, we are going to start with the authorization part. Now, let me start my virtual machine. Here we are restoring our virtual machine state. Mm, yes. I want to log in as a root user. Here you can see that root is been given to me, that I'm the the administrator, you can say. Root is the administrator user who has all the permission, all the access to to perform every task. He can do any, root is the, you can say, overall the owner of the company. And the further employees, he assign particular job roles to them, that are the that are the other users, right? Local users, you can say. So I'm putting the password. Here we go. Yeah, I did some dirty work. Now the page has been cleaned. And when we talk about user administration, first of all, we need to understand what is super user, right? Super user is nothing but the root user. So in this, you can see that we have logged in, we have got the shell of root user. Shell is what, where we are performing our terminal tasks, right? It is the environment in our local machine, right? So here we are doing this. Here we go. So let's understand first that if you want to if you will say that what is the ID of root, it will always be zero, right? The ID that has been assigned, the unique ID that has been assigned to the root, that would always be zero. That cannot be greater or lesser than zero. It cannot be minus, right? So basically it is a zero. The local users that I have said, that the root user create the local user, to assign different particular task for them individually. For that, we can create local user. I will tell you how we can create that too. But first, I'll tell you that local user get the IDs between 1000 to 60,000, right? Now I will tell you. And the system user, there's another user, that is system user. these users are generally, do not get the shell of, they get the shell of no login, right? No login shell. Okay, by default they get the has been no login shell, and the root user and the local user get their own shell. Okay, so it works like that. So system user are those users, type of user I'm telling about, right? So local user, you got to know, which has been created by the root only and assign different tasks to them. And system user are those user which are being created by the external source. Maybe, if you have downloaded any particular software or application or something like that, you can uh, you can see that there's a system user for that, right? So there are three types of classification in user administration. So let's try to create an user. Okay, for that we have to use user add command. And let's say I want to create an user like Karan. So Karan is already exists. So let's so Karan is already exists. So if I will add another user, right? User add. mm, let's say Frank. Okay, so I have created an user. Okay, so Frank would not have all the access. Like, if you want to go into the uh, this directory, right? If you want to check cd, if you want to go behind, right? And if you want to go into, like, let's say if you want to see files in you say can see cd. uh, if you want to go it home, you can see that, you can go at home. Okay, so here you can see there are different users home directories are there. So basically all the users have their own home directories where, the user related data is there. Okay, so I have created these users earlier, like Linux, Karan Sharma, Karan, Frank, and Sybil. These users I have created earlier, so that's why I have got the access of, going to the, home of different user. Like, let's say if I want to go into Linux. Okay, yes, I can see the content over here, right? So there is no so here you can say, those hidden files for Linux, right? So he by by root user, I have already told you that root user works as the company's owner, and the company's owner has all the rights to, to perform any particular activity in the organization, to go any particular uh, department, to talk to any department, right? So for that, the root user has all the authorities for it. That's why he can do it, right? That's why it can do it. So now let's move up to uh, changing from root user to another user. Let's change. For that, we put a command switch hash, and not hash, don't know the meaning of the symbol. uh, okay, switch dash. And if I want to go, let's say I want to go to Frank. Here I can, you can see that, I have Frank is there, okay, as the user. And let's say, and it has showcased the dollar sign here, right? And if it is showcased the hash sign, that means we are logged in with the root user. We have the access of root user cell, right? Shell. Okay, so root user environment, we have. And by this we know that we have the environment of that local user only. So with that, you can see if I want to go behind, let's say home, its home directory, we have moved into this. Let's say if I want to again go behind, uh, I want to list it down, I can go here. And let's say if I want to go at home, here I can see there are some users. And let's say if I want to go to Linux, so permission has been denied. So here you can see clear difference. So permission is not given for the local user because he cannot enter into the other domain, right? Into other department of the same organization. So he can check the home directories and files. He can, make changes into his own files, right? But he cannot do changes in another files, or someone else department, right? So basically here you can see the difference, right? You don't get the permission for that. So by cd I can commit again the main directory of this. And let's say if I want to check the id, I have told you that the local user id is range is between 1000 to 60,000, and we can further extend it, but we will talk it later. But id, let's say of rank. Here you can see that uid, unique id 1004, gid, I'll tell you about gid also, right? So uh, 1004 is the id that has been assigned to this rank, right? Now let's talk about the group id. So when you create any particular user, the automatically a group has been assigned to it. Okay, and the group has the capability of containing multiple user under its belt. Like let's say if I have created a user that is let's say I have created a user by naming it you can say testers, and it will create a group also by the name of testers, and you can further, if you will add multiple groups, sorry, for multiple users to it, you can assign those users to the testers group, right? So every particular single user has its own group, as well as he can be assigned to the other group also, right? So let's move up to how we can create group, right? So let's say can we create the group by local user? Let's say let's try this. Group add command is for that, right? Group add uh, Zane. Okay, we don't have the permission for that, because the root user only has the permission for Sam. So by we have to switch again to the root, okay, main user, and for that we have to put the password, because if we do not give the password to it, anyone can access, anyone can do any changes according to his need or whatever. If he is not uh, doing anything in a right way, that could be a loss for the organization, right? So if you want to create a group, let's create group add. Now Zane, here you can say it has been created, and if I want to see the id of Zane, there is no such user. But if I want to check the data of Zane, I have some directories for that. For that we can do cat, not cat, head. Head command, I have told you earlier that it will tell us, it will give us the information of last lines. You can mention out any number of lines in the row. So head 2 slash etc slash um group, right? So mm, sorry, I want to sorry, head is for the topmost um, lines, and tail is for the lowermost line, right? So here you can say there is a the primary group that has been created by the creation of that user. Okay, it has been created like that. Okay, group has been created, and the secondary group Zane that we have created by adding it. Okay, so it has been showcased that Jane is there, and the group id that has been assigned to it, it is showcasing the password pointer. Okay, so it means that there is some password you can assign to it, right? It is the password pointer, and this is showcased as the group id, okay, of Zane and and Frank, right? So After adding a particular user or group, what are the configurational changes in the files that you can see? I'll tell you. There are some files like, you know, to check if you have added some user. If you have added some user, for that the configurational file would be tail 2 slash etc slash passwd, right? For that you can see there are groups, right? Sorry, not there are users. Okay, user related data. Okay, username is ansible, then password pointer here. Okay, and you can see that user id is this, and group id is this. Okay, and the home directory, it has provided, it has got the home directory, and ansible is the name, right? Again, it is it has given the shell information, that is bin and bash. Okay, so everything we do, perform any activity, the shell that is assigned to us by, for the super user and for the local user, are their own bash shells, right? Bash login cells, right? And the system user that I have told you earlier, that you know, that has the application installation or something like that, for that we have no login shell, right? For that particularly. Now if we want to check, let's say if I want to check for any particular, this is for the user, for the group. Okay, here you can see the information is given to the last lines of the groups, right? So group name, okay, password pointer, and the group id. And if you want to check the password, let's, you know, create some password to a particular user, right? Let We have created a user by naming it Frank. Let's give him a password. For that we can give like PATSSWD and Frank, right? So it will ask as the password, and again, okay. So yeah, it was shorter than 8 characters. That is fine for me. Okay. So now it has got the password. Now if you will see, if you want to check the password related data, for that you can go to slash etc slash shadow, and here you can see the name and the password in the encrypted form, right? Okay, and you can see the name and the password in the encrypted form, right? So these are 4 files. One more file that is for group password, right? G shadow is there, you can see. So it is also, the password has not given till yet, so that's why it has showcased as the exclamation mark, but here password comes, right? There are some multiple file configurational changes that you can see at, you know, if you will go to the file of, let's say, slash etc, not slash etc, slash var slash spool slash, so it is a directory. So if you know, there is, if there is any mail data, right? Let's go to this particularly. Here you can see the mail data of every user, okay, as a root user, because it has the permission, all the permissions, right? So let's check for the cat Karan. So there's no mail for Karan, right? So mail data is there. All right. Again, go back to the previous one. And if you will go to slash etc slash skell, so you can see the skeleton data. Okay, here. So here you would get to see the skeleton data. Okay, skeleton data is basically, you know, the very you know, limited data that has been contained for a particular user, right? If the if there is, if you have removed a particular user, so if you want to get some information related to that particular user, you can get from it the skeleton data, right? So it contains very, not very bulky data, but very basic data about the user, right? Now let's come to this. Mm, okay, 1 2, and key shadow we did, password we did, right? We did the scale data, where is pool mail data, home directory. There is a home directory for everything, right? So in home directory, you will get to know, you will get to see the cd/home. So you will get to see all the, you can go into, like, if you want to go to Karan, you can go to the home of Karan and you can see, you know, uh, right? So home data will be created. Okay, so these are the configurational files, that configurational files and directories that creates when you add a particular user, right? So let's refresh this page, and currently we are logged in with the root only. Okay, let's say if I want to switch to, without giving this dash sign, okay, if I want to switch to Karan, so we have got switched to Karan, but the thing is, we have not got the access of the uh, Karan's shell, right? We have got the access of root shell only, right? Without the dash sign, and with the dash sign, we can get the access of root shell also, right? So here you can see, who am I? It is Karan. Okay, definitely it is Karan, but the shell that we have got, okay, that is for the root, right? But if you will switch by dash Karan, hmm, why it is authentication failure? Uh, let's come back to root. Now switch to, so here you can see we have got the access of the shell of Karan, right? So we have logged in with Karan and we have got the access of shell of Karan only. Okay. And if you want to switch to, right, let's say Frank. So earlier we have created a password. So we have switched into the switch in the Frank user, right? Now the by adding password to it, we are logged in with to the Frank user, right? So these are the important, user add user. So yes, if you want to delete a particular user, let's say user del is command, right? So currently we have the access of Frank user, that is a local user. So if I want to use a del with Karan, so can we delete it? No, we cannot delete it, because if we don't have the permission to create a new user by the local user, so how we can delete the same user, any other user by the local user? So basic concept is the same, right? So if you want to delete it, you can delete it by login to root again, right? So By user del is using, okay, kill the process. Okay, syntax is this. 9 to find the signal number, kill L command. To find signal number, run kill N command. And the signal number is 9. Hmm. Let's try this out. Okay, it has been killed now, right? Fine. Now hash 9 we have to put and user del. Now we can, the process has been killed. Okay, we'll talk about the process later in the later videos, but mm, mm, I'm not able to write anything here. Right. All right. So okay, let's restart this terminal. There is some issue here. So now, if I want to delete a particular user, del is the command, and uh, I wanted to delete Karan. Okay, so here you can see if I'll check the ID for Karan, there was no Karan, there is no Karan user, right? If I'll check ID for Ansible, here we can see the ID, group ID, everything, right? If we will delete the user del again, it has been deleted. Now if I'll check the ID of Ansible, no such user. So for today, I have talked about the user administration. What is it all about? What are its three fundamental things, right? We have talked about the authentication part. Okay, the accessing part, how we can access it. Okay, what way we can create user. Okay, and by how we can create switch from one user to another. How we can put the password to a particular user. Okay, and I have mentioned out the configurational files that are being created, okay, when we add a particular user. Okay, so there are seven configurational files that I have talked about, like /etc/shadow /etc/g shadow, which contains the password of groups and users, and /etc/password passwd, that create the information about the user, and /etc/group, that contains the group related data, and /var/pool/mail, that contains the mail related data, /etc/scale, that creates it, that contains the skeleton data, and we have talked about that mm, yes, home directory. Okay, so in home also you get the data of the user, right? So these are the configurational files, or you can say the directories that are being created when you create a particular user. And I have talked about why we need to create user in a particular Linux system, right? So what is the need behind it? So I hope this session has been cleared the basic idea of everything, that are required, very much required to further know the process, how we can, we will, how we will give the permissions. There are a lot of things, that we can do in Linux. How we can assign a particular permission to a particular user for a particular file or particular directory, so that can be also assigned by the root user. How we can, transfer the authorities from root user to a local user. What are the IDs that root user has zero, the shell that it has, bash shell, login shell, uh, the system user doesn't has it, local user and root user has it. And root user has the ID that is zero, and the local user's ID can be varied from 1000 to 60,000. And we can, yes, we can increase the limit also by changing some configurational files, okay, data. So we can change the numbers also permanently. So here is the quick overview, quick recap of whole video. So I hope it has been, it was clear to you all. And thank you. Please like if you have learned something new from this video, and to subscribe and share to your friends who wants to get knowledge into this, uh, DevOps, or learning Linux and understanding operating systems and all, these things. Who are keen to who are who have some interest into this, they, it could, this video would be helpful for them. Thank you all of you. Signing you off. Bye bye.